Good morning, Year 3 4, and welcome to your fourth whole class reading lesson of the week. The last two lessons we've been reading chapters and we've been focusing on our reading fluency and the strategies we can use to help us. And I feel like we've done lots of following the writing with our finger, we've used a ruler to know what line we're on, and we've been paying attention to punctuation, making sure we're taking breath at full stops and commas. Today I'd like us to focus on something different. Today I want us to read out loud using expression, tone and volume, and as part of this we're going to need to pay attention to punctuation. Not only do we need to take a breath at full stops and commas, but we need to think about if we need to exclaim, if we need to maybe use the voice of a character, if the writing's in speech marks, if there is an exclamation mark and we need to exclaim, if there's a question mark we need to talk like we're asking a question. If there's an ellipsis, maybe we're going to have a dramatic pause. So today the two things we really need to focus on when we're reading are reading out loud using expression, tone and volume, and paying attention to punctuation. That doesn't mean that we can't follow the writing using your finger and also use a ruler to know what line you're on. Okay, let's read Chapter 3. Oliver was startled, and Oliver was not a boy who startled easily. It's got a face! Can you see here there's an exclamation mark, so we should have explained, and also it's in speech marks, so we know we might have to put on a voice because Oliver's talking. He said. Of course it's got a face, said Iris. Oliver waved at the rambling aisle. He said. Here, as you can see, we've got another ellipsis, so we should have had a bit of a pause after our Hello, Iris told it. He wants to know where you're going. The rambling aisle watched them thoughtfully. It wasn't used to being talked to. It was years and years since it had spoken. It hadn't even realised that there was anybody on its head until these two small upside-down faces appeared. Please, said Oliver. I have to find those other islands. My mum and dad were on one. That's why I need to know where you're all going. The rambling aisle opened its cave of a mouth. It cleared its throat with a crumbly rumble like masses of rock shearing and shifting down in the earth. They're all going to Hallowed Shallows, it said, for the night of the Seawigs. Oliver was starting to feel dizzy, hanging upside down like that. He sat upright. What's a seawig? He asked. Haven't you heard? Said Iris. Every 7 years the rambling isles all gather together at the Hallowed Shallows to show off their treasures. They love to collect things, you see. All the bits of flotsam that the sea washes up on their heads. They're very proud of their collections. On the night of the Seawigs, each of them wears a wig made of all the treasures it has gathered on its travels. The one with the finest wig is declared the winner. It is a great honour. Everyone makes a huge fuss of them. They become chief island for the next 7 years, and they get to order the other islands about if they want to, and choose all the best bits of wig for themselves. I bet Thrumcap wins this time, said the island, or Dimsey. They always have the best sea wigs. Of course, they have crinkly, complicated coastlines. All sorts of interesting things get stuck on them. Most of what washes up on my shores washes straight off again. Look at me. All I have to show for my wanderings are a few bits of old rope and a stupid bird's nest. Oliver tried to think of something encouraging he could say that would cheer up the poor island. But it was true. Its wig was a mess. Its summit was mostly bold rock, with those tussocks of grassy hair sprouting out here and there, and rather a lot of albatross poo. Now that Oliver came to look critically at it, Who are you talking to? Asked Mr. Culpepper, stalking importantly down the beach. And whose nest is he calling stupid? I don't even know whether I can be bothered to make the journey, the island went on, in its deep and mournful voice. You can't imagine the wonderful seawigs which will be on display at the Hallowed Shallows, and there I'll be, with my bit of rope and my bird's nest. The others will all laugh at me. Perhaps I'll give it a miss this time." "No," said Oliver. He hung over the beach edge again. "You must go, or at least tell me how to get there, so I can find Mum and Dad." "Oh, it's not a place you could get to," said Iris airily. "Not on your own." She hung upside down beside him with her wet hair dangling. "The hallowed shallows aren't that sort of place at all. They're a place where all the old things of the sea went to live once people in the world stopped believing in them. Actually, they are where I live too, only I came out to find that optician and I couldn't, and now I can't find my way home either." She blinked short-sightedly. Oliver thought he saw tears beginning to gather in her eyes. He fetched the oily length of nylon rope he'd noticed on the tide line yesterday. He tied one end firmly around a rock, then lowered himself down in front of the island's face. "Did you hear that?" he said. "We both need to go to hallowed shallows. Please take us there. Please say you'll take us there." "Oh, I don't know," said the island glumly. Oliver frowned, swaying in front of those huge eyes like a hypnotist's watch. "Look, do you have a name?" he asked. "Me?" said the island dolefully. "A name?" "No. Some of the bigger rambling isles have been mistaken for real islands by sailors and explorers, who gave them the most splendid names, but no one has ever noticed me." "Not at all?" said Iris. "Well, someone put on me once when I went to sleep for a few years near the mouth of a river. Danger. Submerged rocks. But it fell off. Anyway, I can't go around calling myself Danger. Submerged rocks, can I?" "Well, you need a name," said Oliver, looking up at those craggy features, at the clinging barnacles and clumps of weed. "I'm going to call you Cliff." "Cliff?" said the island, trying it out. He sounded pleased. "Cliff?" "Now listen, Cliff," said Oliver. "How long is it till this Seawigs contest?" "We gather at the shallows tomorrow night," said Cliff. Iris nodded. "That's right. All my mermaid friends are going. They're going to perch on rocks and sing. It's completely lame." "Well then, Cliff," said Oliver, "you've got all today and tomorrow to gather some brilliant things to decorate your Seawig. We'll help." "Will you?" sniffed the poor island, looking hopefully at him. "Will we?" asked Iris. "Course we will," said Oliver. "Let's think. What would be the best things you could possibly have on your wig? You've already got me and Iris, and the inflatable dinghy." "He's got an albatross too," said Iris. "It can stand on the top and spread its wings or something." "Excuse me," said Mr. Culpepper, coming to peer over the edge behind her. "I am a Dromaea exulans, and a particular fine specimen too. I am not some funfair attraction." "Spread its wings indeed," he sniffed loudly. "Seemed to me that this island has gone to the dogs. Used to be such a nice, quiet place. Now I can hardly move for boys and mermaids. I don't like the sound of the Seawigs affair at all. Sounds like a lot of noise and bother to me." "Don't listen to him," Oliver told the island. "Just think. What are the most wonderful things that an island could wear?" "Well, there's always shipwrecks," said Cliff. "Shipwrecks are very stylish." "The dinghy is a sort of wreck," Oliver pointed out. "It's just stranded," said Cliff sadly. "That's not the same thing at all." "He's right," said Iris dreamily, draping her tail in a rock pool. "What he needs is a real spectacular wreck. What about the water mole?" Oliver frowned. "I'd heard of that. It was the world's first submarine. The King of Spain built it to ferry treasure from his gold mines without English pirates noticing. But it didn't work too well. It sank and nobody knows where." Iris coughed and pointed modestly to herself. "You mean, you know where we could find it?" Oliver asked. I ran into it while I was swimming around, Iris said, rubbing thoughtfully at the faded bruise upon her elbow. It's on an undersea mountain not far from here. Whew, a submarine, said Cliff, sounding hopeful for the first time. I don't think any of the other islands has a submarine. Well, let's go and find the water mole then, said Oliver, and then hurry to the hallowed shallows and see what those other isles think of it. I bet they'll declare you the winner in an instant. Cliff nodded happily, almost tumbling his 2 passengers off into the sea. He never really thought of himself as a winner of anything before, but Oliver spoke with such certainty that he could almost hear the voices of his fellow rambling isles as they cheered his wonderful wig. He sank back down into the waves until the top of his stony head became an island once again, and with Iris shouting directions, he set off, surging through the water with a steady, confident motion. Oliver lay on the edge of the beach and looked down through the water. He could dimly see Cliff's huge, rocky limbs moving far beneath him in the depths. How strange to think that there were such things as rambling isles in the world. He had never even heard of them. Okay, we're going to stop there. Did you read out loud using expression, tone and voice? Did you pay attention to punctuation? Stop the video now and think of what punctuation you came across in that chapter. Now you've had to think about what punctuation, let's go through some examples. We definitely had exclamation marks. We had question marks. We had full stops, commas, ellipses. We had speech marks. I noticed even some other forms of punctuation as well. Well done if you've got any of those pieces of punctuation, and well done for reading chapter 3 with me today.